History is frankly full of unbelievable coincidences.
The last thing that John Adams, the second president of the United States, said before dying was, "At least Jefferson still lives." Little did he know that Jefferson, the third president, had died just a few hours earlier.
The date? The 4th of July, 1826, exactly 50 years to the day after the adoption of the Declaration of Independence.
James Monroe, the fifth president, also died on Independence Day, 5 years later. The great American humorist and author Mark Twain was born on November 30th, 1835. On that day, Halley's Comet dominated the sky above his Missouri home. The comet, which is famously visible from Earth only every 75 to 77 years, was also visible as Twain lay dying. Shortly before he died, he said, "It will be the greatest disappointment of my life if I don't go out with Halley's Comet." Wilmer McLean was a Virginia grocer. At the start of the Civil War, Confederate troops commandeered his home to use as their headquarters in preparation for the first battle of the war at Bull Run. His house took damage from Union shelling, and McLean decided to move to Appomattox, Virginia, nearly 150 miles away, to escape the war.
It didn't work.
In 1865, General Robert E. Lee surrendered to Ulysses S. Grant in McLean's Appomattox house, officially ending the war between the states. "The war began in my front yard," McLean later said, "and ended in my front parlor." In 1865, Robert Todd Lincoln, President Abraham Lincoln's son, was nearly run over by a train, but was saved at the last minute by a quick-thinking Good Samaritan. His name? Edwin Booth, the brother of John Wilkes Booth, who just a few months later would assassinate President Lincoln.
Speaking of which,
two of America's greatest presidents, Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy, were both elected to Congress in 46, 1846 for Lincoln and 1946 for Kennedy. Both were elected to the presidency in 60, 1860 for Lincoln and 1960 for Kennedy. Both men were with their wives when they fell to an assassin's bullet. Both were shot in the head, and both died on a Friday. Both John Wilkes Booth and Lee Harvey Oswald were themselves shot and killed before they could face justice. And Lincoln and Kennedy were both succeeded by vice presidents named Johnson, Andrew Johnson and Lyndon B. Johnson.
Those aren't even all the coincidences surrounding these two men, but they are the most interesting. And this particular swirl of coincidences has, unfortunately, created a lot of misinformation, too. You may have heard it said that Booth shot Lincoln in a theater and was later caught in a warehouse, while Oswald shot Kennedy from a warehouse and was later caught in a theater. That's not exactly true. Booth was caught in a barn, not a warehouse. Nor were Booth and Oswald both born in 39. Booth in 1839 and Oswald in 1939. Close enough. Booth missed this coincidence by a single year, as he was actually born in 1838.
Violet Jessup was an Irish nurse and ocean liner stewardess. She worked aboard the RMS Olympic, the largest and most luxurious ocean liner ever put to sea. On September 20th, 1911, the Olympic collided with a British warship and was severely damaged.
Violet transferred to the Olympic's sister ship for its maiden voyage, the RMS Titanic.
4 days later, on April 14th, 1912, the Titanic famously struck an iceberg and sank, killing more than 1,500 people. But not Violet. She was given charge of a baby and ordered into Lifeboat 16, saving her life. When the First World War broke out, Violet was posted aboard the hospital ship Britannic, the younger sister ship of both the Olympic and the Titanic. On the morning of November 21st, 1916, the Britannic hit a German mine and sank. Jessup and the other passengers almost died when their lifeboat drifted into the ship's spinning propellers. She leapt free even as her lifeboat was shredded into kindling.
Believe it or not, she continued to work at sea, dying of natural causes in 1971 at the age of 83.
On August 6, 1945, Tsutomu Yamaguchi was in Hiroshima on a business trip when he looked up and saw an American B-29 bomber drop something over the center of the city. A moment later, there was, quote, "a great flash in the sky, and I was blown over." That bomber was the Enola Gay, and its cargo was the first atomic bomb.
Yamaguchi survived, though he was temporarily blinded, suffered ruptured eardrums, and had serious burns over much of his body. Rather than stay in Hiroshima, Yamaguchi decided to return home to recuperate.
Tragically, his hometown was Nagasaki. And 3 days later, while Yamaguchi was describing the Hiroshima attack to a coworker, the Americans dropped a second atomic bomb there.
Amazingly, Yamaguchi survived the second blast as well, and not surprisingly, became a vocal proponent of nuclear disarmament. Stay curious, my friends.